So this is going to be a Photoshop tutorial. I'm dedicating this to a family member of mine, Pat Wallace, who's about to embark into the world of Photoshop for the first time. So I'm going to talk about the very basic steps of Photoshop. This is not for the advanced or intermediate. This is for those who just maybe purchased Photoshop, no matter which one you have, CS, CS512, whatever, doesn't matter. Then you're going to find this tutorial very useful. It's going to help you out. So if you want to just get a refresher, by all means, listen, tune in, make comments. But here we go. So first thing you're going to do is actually bring up the Photoshop icon. You're going to press that, and it's going to bring you to this environment here. It's not going to pop up already like that. I had this loaded up. It takes a while for Photoshop to load up depending on the computer system you're working on. So you're going to work in this environment. We're not going to talk about this over here. None of this over here. We're not talking about nothing over here. We're focusing over here. So this is the tools that you're going to be actually using. So let's get right to it. The first tool you're going to use is this tool right here, which is the pointer. Right? I call this the grab, the point, the capture. You're going to be using this tool to actually give commands, make changes, and your Photoshop work. Then you're going to come down to this. This is your rectangular tool. You use this when you want to actually isolate a certain section and drag it out. Same thing with the marquee tool here, the elliptical. Now you're not going to be using these too much. I don't use them too much. So let me just say I'm going to show you the tools that I use the most, and you probably use them the most in your workspace. Here, the Lasso tool. This tool goes way back, way back. Basically, this tool is used to actually draw around an object. Let's say you want to take out, I don't know, a car out the background. Well, back in the day, you would have to use this lasso tool, and it basically just draws around the object. You'll use it like a pencil or a pen, and you would draw around the object, and then once you complete the actual circle, it's going to automatically connect, and you're going to see what they call ants. It's really, the line is just going to start marching around the whole object area where you just highlighted. And basically you just go back to this tool and just drag it out into another layer. So you'll find yourself maybe using that, maybe not. I'm not going to go into much all of these. They work pretty much the same. If you have any comments or any questions about these tools, I will go into it a little more in depth, but right now I just want to give you a preview of the tools. These are quick selection tools. They work almost like the lasso. Only thing, you don't have to draw around. You just pretty much quick hit this and place it over the object or the subject or the pixels, however you want to phrase it, and just drag down right over. It's going to expand around those sample colors, and once again you can drag them out, you can isolate, make changes. This one does the same thing too, but this one goes back to the earlier days of Photoshop. This is the most recent one. I believe you'll find yourself using this one the most. This one here, you can actually just go to certain sections and it'll take a sample of that color and it'll isolate it. And it's not as accurate as this. This one's a little more accurate, but even in this one, you're going to have to fine tune. Another feature you're going to be using is this, the crop. The crop is what it is. You just want to if you're working with a photo and you don't want grandma in the back that's on the right there to be in the picture, you can actually just once again take the crop tool, go down, isolate, and then hit enter, and then your picture will sort of like just get that person or that unwanted image out of the focal point of the picture. You'll be using this a lot too. Eyedropper, ruler, you may not be using this. These are just tools that you'll probably use just to get a sample idea of pixels. The ruler tool basically gives you an XY axis. Will you be using that? I don't know. I don't use it. This is the eyedropper tool. So like I said, it gives you sample points on your layers, colors. You may use that. I don't really focus on that, but I do focus on the healing brush, particularly when you're doing pictures. Maybe some blemishes on the subject's face you want to get rid of. Maybe something that's just distracting on the picture you want to get rid of. You use this. You use this, and this is for spot healing. So all you want to do is put it on a spot. We'll go through that on another tutorial. click, it's gone. Healing tool brush. All these little tools are pretty much relative to each other. They just work differently. Brush tool, you're going to be using this a lot. It's just what it is a brush tool. This is where you're going to be doing your painting. Another tutorial on that. We'll talk about that. You'll probably be using this mostly, I would say, let's say about maybe 80% in your workflow pattern. And for everyone else, you'll find this tool very useful. Useful. I can't even speak. When you want to change eye color, when you want to change hair color, when you want to change the background, just isolating certain parts of the photo or the image. The clone stamp is basically what it is. You can actually take an image, clone it to another section of the image. This is old school right here. I haven't really used this in a long time. Same thing with this. These are old school tools. So basically, those of you who've used Photoshop from way back in the day and you still like these tools, they don't take them away when you upgrade. History brush, you won't be going there too much. Eraser brush, you may be using this. I don't really use the eraser brush too much. Once again, this is the remove background. It's self-explanatory. The magic eraser brush, we'll talk about that in another tutorial. This here you'd probably use. I like this here, the paintbrush bucket tool. When you want to take a background and you just want to change the color. Instead of just going with the paintbrush up here and just going up and down, you can splat it all there and it'll just take the whole area, paint it that color. Let's see what else we got. Blur tool. This is basically for photos. There's a better tool in the up here in the filters that you probably use more than the blur tool. But you may find it's very useful, just for a little area. Sharpening tool, same thing, smudge tool. You can find all these in the filter. They do a better job up in the filter than over here. Once again, these are old school tools from day one. They still keep them around. Dodge burn, this is for photos. Dodge is actually to lighten a photo, lighting it to make it lighter. Burn is just actually to do the opposite, makes the area darker. So this is for shadows and this is for highlights. Sponge tool, it's just like a painter. You can actually sponge it. You can sponge it in. You add a little shape. I don't really use this tool ever, but it's there. It's one of the old school tools. Pen tool, Pat, you'll probably find this useful. This is what you're probably going to use the most. And you want to use this pretty much in conjunction with a wall mat pad. I have a wall mat pad, but very rarely use it. I'm pretty much good with the mouse. But this is for those who are really like dedicated artists. They want to get that feel of holding a pen. You'll use these tools for that. Definitely using the text tool. After you finish your design and your artwork, you want to put some graphics, you want to put some wording over it. This is where you're going to go. Path tool, we'll talk about that another time. And these are your shapes. So you have custom shapes where you want to add shapes. You got a polygon tool, ellipse tool. So basically you could add these shapes over or on one of your layers. And then you can probably get fancy with it and put some text in it. You can also probably do what is called a clipping. What is the thing? Clipping. I forgot what it's called, but you can actually move a picture in there, and it'll fit perfectly. And then you just have to manipulate it to get it where you want to. We're not going to talk about these tools. We're not going to talk about this. This is basically just moving stuff around in the picture. Once you highlight it, you can move it, rotate it. This you're going to use. This is the zoom. You'll operate it from right here. You can zoom in, zoom out by hitting these two tools. Basically, when you want to do critical editing, you want to bring that close up because you are working with pixels, and pixels are very little small squares that are combined to make the whole image up. And when you actually want to remove around an object, you want to zoom in so you can see exactly what you're doing. This is your color palette, self-explanatory. You can just pick the color that you want to operate in. We'll talk about that a little more in depth later on. And as you see, when you click this, it changes over here. This is the foreground, this is the background. You can also use the dropper to actually take a sample once you have the graphic up and do it and use it in that fashion too. This is a quick mask. We'll talk about that a little later. But pretty much this is where you're going to start. I cannot express the importance of learning your tools. You're not going to use all the tools, but you want to learn the ones that you're going to use the most, get the best work, the best function out of them, and that'll make your workflow in Photoshop easier. So there you have it, Pat. So open up your Photoshop, learn the tools, get ready to get Photoshopping. And for all of my other viewers and listeners out there, this is for the very basic, very basic. We're going to go into it a little more depth as we start the workflow. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found this very useful for yourself, and I'll see you next time.